The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. It's time for some damn annoying bells.
No.
What do you mean no?
They're not annoying.
They are. So I know we had a plan to talk about some junk this week, but I think we should talk about that stuff later, because I want to talk about how, I guess the off-year elections were this year, and I usually don't like to pay attention to news.
But it was impossible because they were pushing shit on you?
Well, there was some coverage on it, and it made me mad, and I don't know why. I used to love listening to NPR and the news and stuff like that.
I know, which is weird. So what was annoying?
I think what is generally annoying to me is I feel that people are being propagandized and that they're falling for it. And that makes me very angry. It makes me angry that people are falling for the lies.
So, how do you resolve?
There's no resolving it. I mean, you can't go, well, if we were all more educated, or if people were smarter, or people were educating themselves.
That's my go-to, is always that.
That
people need to be taught. These kids need to be taught how to critically think and how to question, and
that because the whole thing about the reason why things are the way they are is because people are using to their advantage some very strong, I don't know if it's instinct, but just some very strong pulls in us. We tend to trust people that we like. We tend to want to treat people like people, which everyone tends to be pretty decent and agreeable. And while that would work for friends,
neighbors,
maybe, hopefully
neighbors,
it doesn't necessarily work with everybody that you interact with, and it most definitely doesn't work with people that are trying to pull the strings of power,
because they don't care.
I don't think that they don't care. They're just trying to use things to their advantage, which is all well and good. But where the part that I get pissed off about, mainly because it happens to me in a very direct way, is, it's hard to articulate, but basically, I really hate it when people throw around this, we need to do this, we need to do that. And what they really mean is, you need to toe this line and do whatever it is, X, Y, or Z, while I do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
And when you either call them out on it or say, you know what, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, then all of a sudden you become the asshole. And I'm saying this from the standpoint of, I felt it happen. I feel it happening a lot.
Right. Dave's just leaving and coming back in very shortly, I suppose.
I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out of here. So yeah, the whole golden rule thing. The jokey golden rule is, he who has the gold makes all the rules.
Oh, that's not the golden rule.
Well, the golden rule is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
I think that I try to operate off of the rule of, be agreeable and decent to everybody, but you treat them the way they treat you.
What if you come across somebody that's a hateful son of a bitch?
Well, then it looks like I'm going to be unleashing some hate on that motherfucker.
Well, that's where I get into trouble, because then I get this fucking aversion thing going on where I just get angry at people all the time.
Well, that's because
it just takes one person. I'm really impatient.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay. You're not talking about people who are just rude as hell?
Well, Can you be rude as hell back? Yes, that's what I say.
Funny thing is those people, they get totally upset when you do that.
Well, yeah, because
and they're like, I'm like the most compassionate. Like I don't ever treat people badly. I treat people really, really well, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, not in my estimation.
Well, that's the example that I'm talking about. You know, you need to toe the line and do all this junk, whereas I can do whatever the hell I want. And, you know, there are too many people that seem to think, if I think it, it is so. And what I mean by that is, if I think I can think I'm the most compassionate person on earth.
Yeah.
That don't make it so.
So remember we talked about, oh shit, man, this is going back a couple of years. You gave the example of the...
Dude, I can't remember what
the adolescent elephants on the in the wildlife reserve,
which may or may not be true.
I think it's true, but there's a lot of adolescent acting people running around, like immature people essentially that don't keep their emotions in check. They just kind of do whatever they want, and then they don't understand why people are getting upset at them. I'm like, it's because you showed no respect to anybody. You're disrespectful. You're,
But the problem is, and it is a problem, they don't think so. I do not do that.
Well, I'm thinking about kids.
And again...
Or people behaving like children.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, too. People that behave pretty badly. On the one hand, it's an indication of how charmed their life has been.
You mean because they...
You don't act like an ass if you get hammered every time you act like an ass.
So maybe there needs to be some more hammering going on then?
Yeah, but...
I mean, is it about manliness and a lack of manliness?
I don't know. There are people that seem to think so, and if someone wants to go off and find out or hear the philosophical waxings of people that believe one thing or another thing, they can go somewhere else to listen to that.
But that's that's like the lefties. That's where they're going to sit there and attack you, right? Like they sit there and attack you. They do the Ross radicals thing and they attack you and accuse you of being, like they throw around terms like toxic masculinity, whatever that means, right? And microaggression and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, how is me saying, this behavior is not acceptable? How is that toxic?
Well, it's toxic because you're not doing what I want you to. You're making me feel uncomfortable.
That's not my problem.
Sure it is, because they can make you feel uncomfortable as much as they want until they get their way. But if you do that, then you're completely off the res there. That is out of bounds. You can't act that way. But you do. No, I don't. End of discussion.
I'm going to leave.
No, that's just end of discussion. You're an asshole. Done. And I find that weird. I mean, because basically we keep on harping on hypocrisy. I think that's just ingrained. The difference is whether or not someone tries not to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're going to fail. I'm going to not be a hypocrite. You're going to fail. There's no way on God's green earth that anyone can not be a hypocrite. And when I say hypocrite, I mean, you say one thing and do another.
That's it. You're saying that's everybody.
Yes. There isn't a person alive that doesn't do that. The only difference is maybe you might try not to, or feel bad about it, or acknowledge it.
So why is everyone a hypocrite?
Hell if I know, dude.
Like, how is that what is the evolutionary advantage to everyone being a hypocrite?
Well, I told you before, right? If nobody steals or lies, and you're one of the few people that do,
you're going to get ahead. You're
going to get way ahead. And you don't even have to do that much. Let's say everybody is just so particularly honest that if you go up to some person and say, "Oh, dude, can you help me out? I need $1. I ran out of gas."
Right.
I'm like, well, shit, yeah, I can give you $1.
If it's a bunch of honest people, you're going to be in a lot of dollars from everybody.
That's my point. So, okay, well, I'm not really out of gas right now, but I may be if I don't get this money from everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, I do. I believe that the whole that line, that mode of behavior is actually pretty helpful to get ahead. Now, it breaks down when too many people do that.
So you don't have an issue with the dishonesty?
What do you mean I don't have an issue with dishonesty?
Well, that's a lie, right? Like if somebody's if you got a bunch of like honest people, and you got that one person or that small group of people that's sitting there and lying to get stuff from the honest people.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yes.
So
and you're thinking I don't have a problem with that? I have loads of problems with that.
But
I have more problems with that than you can even imagine. Because I'm too stupid to not lie most of the time.
Yeah.
Yes, I am so stupid that I'm honest to my own detriment.
Well, I don't think that makes you stupid, though. That just makes you an honest person.
Well, when the measures of your status in a society are a certain way, and you refusing to behave in that way keeps you from getting those symbols of status, I think that's dumb. And I speak just for myself.
Do you think honest people sleep better at night, though?
I don't know.
I guess it depends on what your views are about honesty. If you don't care about honesty, you probably sleep pretty well.
You can be socialized to not care about honesty. Just you can be socialized to do anything. But I have very big problems with people acting in a particular way and telling other people to act differently.
Well, is that hypocrisy? That's the hypocrisy.
I believe, because I believe that the dictionary definition of hypocrisy is espousing a belief in something that you don't believe.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, if I say you have to be faithful to your spouse, and I tell everyone you have to be faithful to your spouse, and yet I'm a very big philanderer, that seems like a bit hypocritical.
That's like the understatement of the year.
And there's no way not to be that way, though. It's the funny thing about it. Everyone,
Except to try not to be.
That's the only thing you can do, and know that you're going to fail. I mean, that's pretty harsh reality.
But you say just because you fail doesn't mean you shouldn't.
That's my attitude towards things.
But you just said you're going to fail.
Yeah. You're going to fail consistently.
Because when I hear you're going to fail, I'm like, well,
why bother?
But you know more
exactly.
My attitude to that.
Exactly. Why bother?
We've had this discussion like ad nauseum. I have a hard time with that.
Well, you should. It's freaking.
Well, I have a hard time with the fact of, you should still try, but you're going to fail.
Well, you should. It makes no sense.
I'm just like, then why bother?
Exactly, dude.
Why bother?
You don't think I have that same thought?
It's like if everybody's a fucking raving hypocrite and super, super dishonest and just awful, right? Then, if you can't, you ever heard the expression, if you can't beat them, join them?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, so if everybody was like that, it's just going to be like a descent into fucking chaos.
Right. If you can't beat them, join them. The reason why I think that's a very stupid saying is because then nobody wins.
But you just said, you said you're the sucker, right? If you can get ahead, and you're not getting ahead by virtue of being honest, then
You're not going to get ahead by being honest. Not in any large society. Hell, maybe not even in a small society.
So, is it a moral question then?
I suppose.
It's about your soul.
Could be.
And if you don't have a moral compass or you don't have a moral viewpoint one way or another about what happens when you die, if you're like, well, that's it, then can you still have a moral outlook? You know, like can an atheist have a moral outlook? I suppose they can.
Why not?
I guess it would be based around self-interest, right? Like if I do these things, then people will reciprocate and things are going to work better.
That's not really the I don't think that should be the primary thought.
Yeah, but if you don't have a moral outlook or a moral view, then everything just becomes like transactional, right?
I think for certain relationships they should be.
Yeah, you mean like somebody you're in business with, or
somebody you're in business with, politicians.
Yeah,
pretty much any stranger you conduct your daily life with.
Yeah.
While I believe it would be much better to do business with a friend.
Yeah. Now, what about neighbors?
Neighbors,
a neighbor's
too.
Not a stranger.
Neighbors too, but
and I mean, you have a different relationship with a neighbor than you do with a stranger.
Sure, and you would hope that your neighbors would not want to cheat you or try to get things to your disadvantage.
Probably only if they're desperate.
I fail to see the point, and I don't care. Who isn't desperate?
Yeah.
You know, but if you go
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying
I'm not saying that you were.
When people act out of desperation, then it's like, you
know. I don't think that's necessarily excusable. Everybody's desperate. Everybody wants to survive. Everybody wants to keep on having what they have. Everyone wants to keep on existing in varying degrees. But, you know, if you act in a purely transactional way, you know, not necessarily to hurt someone, but to always make sure you get what you need.
Yeah.
Or what you want, then I think that you should not be all down on people when they act the same way towards you. And I think they should act the same way towards you.
But that's the funny thing about transactional people, because, you know, we have a few in our sphere.
Sure.
And those people
want to act however they want to act.
And they don't expect you to behave in the same way.
Yeah.
And probably they're going to get upset.
They do. They
like,
have.
Oh my God! Like, what? I thought this person was my friend, or I thought this person was like in my camp, and then now it just seems like they're just wanting to get stuff from me, and I'm like, well, you behave the same way, so.
And to
why are you upset right now?
Because you're special. I have, you know, yeah.
I mean, it's quite confounding.
It is, but you know. Put yourself in that situation, and then it's completely normal.
You mean if you're that person?
Yeah. We all expect other people to kind of do stuff to their detriment for us, in varying degrees. And when they don't, you feel a little put out about it. And you can rationalize your behavior all you want. You know, the salesman that needs to make a sale and has some friends or has some people that will buy stuff or, you know, utilize their services.
Yeah.
To help a friend, or because you think that person's not being dishonest, and they might not be. I mean, they may be pushing. They may, you know, someone might suggest you do X, Y, and Z. And okay, yeah, it might be. It's not dishonest to say you need those X, Y, and Z, but do they actually? But they might not necessarily need X, Y, and Z.
But you push it on them anyway.
Yeah.
Because you got to get the sale.
Sure. Because you need to make money. Because you need to whatever, have your vacations, have your whatever, and that brings me to a different thought that I had during the week. If you really like I don't understand the idea of vacations.
I love vacations.
Mainly because, I mean, you know how I talk ad nauseum about how I'm a big fat failure.
Uh-huh.
and how, like, you know, I'm unhappy with whatever is going on in my life at whatever point because I'm a big fat failure. Well, the reason why I'm living the way I'm living is because of the choices that I made. Some of these choices I made like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know...
choices not to do certain things and to do certain things.
Well, no. Okay, so I consider myself a big fat failure because I don't have the stuff. I don't have the benchmark achievements that a person my age should have.
Right.
Well, it's not like I sat around doing nothing for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
I made a bet. I gambled, if you want to call it that. I made choices to get me to a certain place to do certain stuff. And it didn't work out. In the most technical and literal sense, I failed.
What is the bet?
Well, I'll have to do it by analogy. So, all the stuff that I did in my professional life earlier, you know, working so hard I put myself in the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, moving to a different place without any guarantee.
Yeah.
But the upsides were pretty high if I succeeded.
Right. That's the gamble.
I just didn't succeed.
Excuse me.
The way I needed to or wanted to. Now, does that make me a failure in the grand scheme of things? No. But in a very literal sense, yes. You know, so when I talk about how people are unhappy about their situations, like a lot of people right now are very unhappy about the way things are going. And if you want to use an election as an example, there are a lot of people that are members of the Democratic Party who are very unhappy with the way things are. And I am like, well, if you voted for your party to win, which it did in many elections, you should be okay with it because this was a possibility.
Yeah.
And you can apply that logic to me and my current situation with whatever choice that I had made. Like, you know, okay, so I'm not, you know, super successful, whatever. I should be okay with it because I made choices that brought me here. Now, you know, had those choices panned out in a different way,
yeah,
right? Had working like a nut to the point where I had to be hospitalized for a week.
Yeah. Madman.
Or, you know, whatever. So I'm not being clear because I don't want to like lay junk out.
Right.
But it was a gamble.
But do you, like, getting back to the political thing, so do you think that there's any kind of reflection going on from any of those people that cast their votes to say, well, maybe I shouldn't have made that vote?
Well, I think that anybody that votes for the Republican Party should be having those thoughts on every election cycle.
Really? Pray tell, what do you mean?
Well, okay, so when Barack Obama was the president, over the course of his presidency, his party lost 1,000 seats.
Wow. In
various elections, whether it be state or federal, you know, local and state and federal, right?
Yeah.
And his benchmark thing was the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
To which everyone said they hated.
And yet
it's still around, and
they got the votes.
It's bigger, and there are tons of people working in healthcare because of all the money going into healthcare.
So much money.
So, you know, if you were someone that was part of the party that didn't want the Affordable Care Act to happen, and you voted the other way while it was gaining steam, and it still happened, you should be sitting there going, why is it that the people that said, vote for me and I'll make sure this don't happen, didn't do it?
That's a very good question.
That, when I say, and you know, I'm not the only one that believes this. A big-time radio host on AM, Dan Bongino, he agrees with my point of view on treating elected officials transactionally. I don't care that you cheat on your wife. I don't care that whatever.
Right. Are you gonna?
I want you to do for me
These things.
what I voted for you. You know,
Right.
You said you're going to do X, Y, Z.
If you don't, then
I voted for you to do X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z didn't even get done or even tried.
yeah, you're done.
Yeah. Now the flip side is, well, you know,
I tried.
no. The flip side is you're not that important as a voter.
Like it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Whereas if everybody was
Money comes from somewhere else. So, you know, when you get elected, okay, you got elected, but now all of a sudden all this money's coming in. You know, I want you to do this, ka-chunk. I want you to do this, ka-chunk. Here's some money for your next campaign. We would be very happy if you, like, you know, thought about this, thought about my point of view.
right. That's the problem.
That is a problem. It's not the problem.
Well, buying votes or buying, you know, to me that's a problem. Well, you said a problem, but not the problem.
Yeah. And I don't know what the problem is, and I'm not even going to speculate. You want speculation on what the problem is? There are more opinions than you can hit a cat with. From religion to racism.
Swinging a cat. Why is it always a cat? Swinging a cat, skinning a cat. Like, I'm like, what the hell?
Maybe just because it conjures up a very funny visual.
The skinning a cat thing I always found weird.
Well, I wouldn't want to
There's
skin.
like a bunch of different ways to skin a cat. I'm like, who fucking skins cats?
I wouldn't want to skin anything, especially if it were alive.
I'm just like, good lord. That's a weird expression.
But, okay, so...
Are we done?
I believe so. We've a
This
lot of...
was like way less like excited than last week's one.
Well, you can't be excited all the time.
We're like, zzz, zzz. Today's like the Summonex episode.
Well, maybe we can...
I feel relaxed though, so...
Maybe we can have a lucrative career in putting people to sleep.
I feel like when we eat before the podcast, this is what it's always like.
Food Coma Podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep listening.
Keep telling your friends about us, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.